Hi, welcome back to another video of this learning C++ journey. So we started lesson 10 about inheritance, and we discussed constructor overloading as well as and the function overloading and overriding as well. We discussed the access specifier, and we also demonstrated the inheritance with an example, as well as in our previous video we solved one practice problem. Now in this video I'm going to solve I'm going to attempt to solve another practice problem. So with these practice problems, what you will get that you will get practical idea, and you will get more idea about the inheritance concept as well as syntax and how to utilize the concepts of inheritance and its related concepts. Okay, so let's start by reading the statement of our problem. So the statement is: write a program that declares two classes. The parent class is called simple, that has two data members, num1 and num2, to store two numbers. It also has four member functions. The add functions adds two numbers and display the result. The sub function same for all, so subtract, multiplication, division, etc. The child class is called complex, that overrides all four functions. Each function in the child class checks the value of data members. It calls the corresponding member functions in the parent class if the values are greater than 0, otherwise it displays an error. So let's go and start building our program and start solving the problem. Okay, so first of all we will start with the normal syntax. So hash include iostream using namespace. All right, so we have got our body of program ready. Now the first thing is that we want to have a simple class. So the parent class name would be simple, and let's have two members in it. So the members are going to be in protected region or section. The reason for it is that we can access them directly in our derived class. If you want to put them in private, you can do that, but then you have to declare some accessors or accessors in the public section or protected section in order to receive in order to use or access these variables in your derived class. So I'll keep them in a protected section. So I'll have two nums. So the data type would be float num1 and float num2. All right. So now what we are going to do, we are going to have some public functions. Okay, in public function, the first function is going to be void add function. Okay, in the add function, what we are going to do, we are going to perform addition. So we will have like cout addition equals to num1 plus num2. Okay, so why I'm not using another variable or any return data type? Because as you read in your statement, it just wants us to add two numbers and display the result as well. So we are adding two numbers over here, and we are also displaying the result in these functions. Okay, so let's design the other function in the same order. So I'll copy this piece of code and paste it over here, and then paste it again, and then paste it again. Now we will just change the names of it. So this one is going to be subtract. In case of subtraction, we will have minus sign, and then it is going to be multiplication, and this one is going to be a multiplication sign, and this one is going to be div, so which stands for division, and this one is going to be division. All right, so we have got these things achieved. So num1, num2 is done, and also for member functions, add, sub, multiplication, divisions. Okay, so we are multiplying, adding, performing mathematical operations, and also displaying the result in our parent class. Now the statement tells us to design a child class that has the name as complex. So let's design a child class which will have the name as a complex. Okay, so we will design complex. Okay, as we are doing inheritance, so we will have a single colon and we will write the access specifier name. So what I want to do that I want to keep all of these things as a public. Okay, so then I can access them in my main function as well. So I'll write a public and then I will write the name of my parent class. Okay, that's done. And now let's start with the function overriding. Okay, so in function overriding, what I'm going to do in public, I'll write all of these functions, function names as it is, but I am going to change the functionality of it just to add some new functions into it, new feature into it. Okay, so each function in the child class checks the value of data members. It calls the corresponding member function in the parent class if the values are greater than 0. Otherwise, it displays an error message. So what we are going to do, we are going to basically override the functionality of already existing functions in our parent class. Now, the thing, if you keep this as a protected or private, it is not going to make any difference because we are going to redefine all of those functions in our public section. So we can then access them in our main function. Okay, so if you were using just as it is function, then it would have been must to write them in public section. So now I can keep them in protected in case if I want to use it in any other class. Okay, you can write the private as well. It all depends upon your needs. Okay, private, protected, public. Okay, as far as you have understanding when and where to use them, you are all right, good to go. Okay, so let's write the names of the function. So first of all, we will write the add function. Now whenever we are overriding the function, we are basically changing the functionality. We are basically overriding it. For example, if this function, the add function was adding two numbers in here, and what I can do, I can write the same name, and in the addition section I can do subtraction as well. So whenever I create an object of complex class and I call add function, it will call this subtraction function instead of calling this add function. Okay, so this is what actually function overriding is, that you are actually readjusting the functionality or adding some additional feature. And as I already told you in my previous video, that to keep the functionality of your previous function, you should be using a syntax. What is the syntax? You have to use the parent class name, scope resolution operator, and then you can access all of those functions. So I'll write add. Okay, it is understood. But what this program demands from me, it demands that each function in the child class checks the value of data members. It calls, okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to perform additions and print out the result in a case if num1 is not equals to 0 and num2 is also not equals to 0. This means this function will be called, means that addition will be performed as well as the result will be printed in a case when both the numbers are not equals to 0. I guess this is the what there. It calls the in the parent if the values are greater than 0. Okay. So we want the greater than 0. So if num1 is a greater than 0 and num2 also greater than 0. All right, so this is it. And in else section, what we are going to write? In else section, we are going to write an error message. Error. Both values are not greater than 0. All right, so this is our function, and we will simply copy this for all the other ones, and we will just change the names. Okay, so paste, paste, and then paste again. And what I'm going to do, add, I'm going to write the sub, I'm going to write over here multiply, and I'm going to write a div. And now I'm going to change these as well, because in division it should call the division function, in multiplication it should call the multiplication function, and in subtraction it should call the subtraction function. All right, so we have got everything set it up. Now let's go. So for example, if I create the object of just a simple class, for example, if I create the simple s1, okay, and I call s1 dot n, one more thing, that how to get values from the user and store within these. Okay, so for that purpose, what I am going to do, I am going to design a constructor. Okay, so the constructor is going to be in public section, first thing. So constructor would be by the name of simple. So if someone is doing it in empty, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to write both are equals to 0. So num1 0.0, num2 0.0, and this. But in case if someone passes an argument, what I can do, that float n1 means num1 and float n2 means the num2 is going to be num1 num n1 and num2 is going to be for n2. Okay, so this is going to be a parameterized constructor if someone calls declare an object with parameters, and this one is going to be the empty constructor. Okay, so by default the empty constructor would be called, but what we are going to do, we are going to write a complex if someone passes parameters. In case of our derived class, what's going to happen, same thing is going to happen obviously. So n1 and float n2, and what we are going to do, we are going to call the constructor of our parent class, and we will just assign these values. Okay, so in this way, what's going to happen, that if the derived class object is declared with parameter, it will also assign the values to our member variables. Now we can have values. So first of all, we will design. Now in case of an empty constructor, it will have a 0.0. Okay, so then you can design a set get input function in case of an empty, and then you can take values. So you can do that as well. Okay, it is an also option. All right, so let me pass some values. I'll pass -1 and -2. All right, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to write s1.add. So if I do s1.add, it should display me -3. All right, so let's run our program and let's see the output. I'm expecting a -3 output. All right, as you guys can see that we got a -3 output. But in case of our child class, we have modified the function. So let's have the modified function. Okay, let's create an object of our child class, so which is complex, and we will create C1, and in C1 we will pass the same values as our parent class, so -1 and -2. Now let's call the same function C1.add for the our child class, and you guys will see a different answer. Okay, so as you guys can see that we have got an output as addition is equals to -3 for our simple class, means that base class, and we got error message, both values are not greater than 0 for the complex class. So that means that we have successfully overridden our parent class functions, and we added an extra feature. So this is the beauty of inheritance, that you can take the previous code and you can add some extra functionality to it, and maintaining the old functionality as well. So what I have here is that the old functions are also working very good, but I have added an extra feature. This is an extra feature which checks. So if it meets this criteria, it will calculate our required output, means multiplication, addition, subtraction, or whatever it is. Okay, but if it doesn't meet the criteria, it will display the error message. So this is the application of inheritance, that we got the previous code, that we inherited all the features, all the member variables from our pre-existed code, and then we remodified it and we redefined the functions, and we overrided the functions. So we have successfully solved this problem. From the next tutorial, we are going to learn about multi-level and multiple inheritance. I hope this practice problem helped you in understanding inheritance more. I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye.